But remember, this is half PPR. Half PPR, 2 receivers. Okay, half PPR, 2 receivers. Half PPR, 2 receivers.
I was thinking of Bijan there.
Should have went Bijan there, bro, to see how it played out. We're gonna go Saquon. We're gonna go Saquon. Yeah, man. I feel like I didn't get to fully touch on this, but I feel like when you come back around in that 12 spot, it's you get kind of stuck with the receivers, those last of the 12. You can sometimes Tyreek will fall to you, but most of the time it's Marv, Garrett Wilson, Devontae, now your T Higgins. Like that's where you're taking at the back end of the second round, top of the third, and then the running backs that are left there are like Bucky Irving and Chase Brown. So you got to decide which do you like. And it seems like you like the running backs there better. I like the receivers there in the second and third round. And then depending on who I'm drafting with, like in these drafts, there's no way it happens. But when I've been doing a lot of the best ball drafts, sometimes Kamara and Mixon will fall to me at the end of the fourth and the fifth. And it feels like I'm getting fantasy.
Oh yeah.
So
best ball that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like I just like the running backs there personally. I even like Brees Hall. I'd go with him at the 301. I just feel better about those running backs than I do. I shouldn't say like all the wide receiver. I mean, it used to be Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, I was like, okay. And that's why like I would go with Bijan because I was like, all right, Rashee Rice will most likely be there. But now it's like, I don't know which one. Maybe it is Tyreek. Maybe I'm too low. And I think about that all the time. But it's just something that
I find myself grabbing a lot of receiver at the back end of the first round. Like I'll get the like Drake, London, AJ Brown stacker. Like Brian Thomas is somehow there. I'll take him.
Yeah.
And then the only times I really would like St. Brown has been falling there a lot too. The only time I'll really take a running back is if it's like I feel I'm at the 7 or 8 spot for whatever reason, CMC or Derrick Henry kind of falls to me. Achane. Like if one of those guys is there, then I'll take him. But I feel like that.
In the first, you're saying, or in the second?
In the second. I kind of like taking Brian Thomas. It's almost like Brian Thomas or bust for me at the back end of that. I just feel like the upside
he's there
crazy.
A lot. Yeah, I love like I talked about it a lot. I just love the start. Like, and there's just so many different combinations that you don't have to worry about. Like, I hope this guy falls. It's just like you go with Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Like those two guys could be both top 3 running backs this year. You could go with like if you're into the rookies, you could go like Ashton Genty and Brian Thomas Jr. Like you just mentioned, ultimate potential upside in both those kind of guys that you're chasing. So, and like I said, there's different players that you can land where it's not like you have to just sit there and pray that this guy falls. There's just a lot of different combinations that you have of really, really, really high end talent.
I would just say this: my main concern with drafting at the back end, right? Like you talked about the combinations, and I agree with you. There's a lot of players that could be RB1, like McCaffrey could be RB1, Derrick Henry RB1, Jonathan Taylor RB1. You can get a lot of Devon Achane RB1. You got a lot of wide receiver 1 candidates. You talk about Nakua and Neighbors and Nico and Drake London. So I hear you on that. My problem is the next couple rounds because I feel like that's where the receivers really dry up. And you're depending on who you're drafting with, obviously. But now you're like kind of stuck with, okay, do I start reaching on players? Do I have to start taking players now above their ADP? Like obviously Kamara and Joe Mixon, I talked about how much I love drafting those guys, right? But like, am I going to have to reach on them and then for a receiver, right? Do I have to start reaching on like Cortland Sutton in this round, Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan? That's kind of starts to be an issue there in that back half of the draft. So that's my only thing with the back half is that I've found that, you really get those 2 players you want there at the top. But you talked about like how at the end of the second round, you're kind of hoping players fall. I feel like that's the case with this back end of the third round. Otherwise, you're taking like quarterback early. You got to go Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or like you're taking Terry McLaurin and Mike Evans,
I don't think it's bad, honestly, getting like Lamar there or Josh Allen, to be honest with you. I kind of like it.
But, right.
But see, this is where we kind of differ just because I know that you're not a lot of times now in your league, because I know you're very high on like Joe Mixon just went at 302. No fucking shot is he going at 302 in a regular draft. Like in the regular draft, a lot of times he's going in the 4th round. Same with Alvin Kamara. Kamara will be there a lot of times at the back
Yeah,
end of the 3rd round. I'll gladly take, like, especially if I go 2 wide receivers, if I get like, because sometimes this does happen and people will say that doesn't happen. Listen, I do drafts all the fucking time.
yeah.
Like shit happens, crazy stuff
I got a
happens.
request. I got a request too, but I don't mean to get your thought. I got a request. Next time we're here, drop a link in your Discord. Next time we'll do it. I want to drop a link in your
Okay.
Discord, and so let's have them draft. If we can on this channel, I want to draft with them on this channel, so I can like. I mean, you can kind of talk through how it's different too.
Okay. Yeah. Um, so, and like I was saying, so like a lot of times Alvin Kamara is there. So you could start with like, I've had this before where you start with like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and then you're getting Alvin Kamara as your RB1. And then you could get Lamar Jackson as your quarter. Like,
Yeah,
that's such a sexy build. Or I know that you don't like this, but you could start with kind of the same thing where you go like, I've even seen Puka Nakua, Amon-Ra, St. Brown have been back there. So
yeah.
you could start with like Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or even if you're big on Drake London, and like um AJ Brown, whatever. You start with that duo, and then you get AK. I love, especially the longer Najee Harris sits out, Amarian Hampton there in the 4th round, or Kenneth Walker. Like he falls there at a lot of the times too. So like you can start with those 2 wide receivers, like elite top tier guys, and then get guys who have, high, in my opinion, some high end, especially Alvin Kamara, like high end RB1 potential, or at least mid RB1 potential in PPR format. So like I that's why I love it. Or you just pivot and go with the ultra safe option, Lamar Jackson, who once again, barring injury, will most likely be a top 3 quarterback in fantasy football, averaging 20 some fantasy points per game and be a borderline league winner at the quarterback position. So that's how I like it. That's why I
Yeah,
like it.
I'm not mad at that. You know what I mean? And it truly depends on like what draft you're in and who you're drafting with.
Yeah, who
Because
you're drafting with. Yeah, for
there's so
sure.
many possibilities. You know what I'm saying? And even like the settings matter a whole lot. But it's like when you start to like look at what you can build there, I feel like that's where things kind of change outside of just like elite talent. Now, well, let me rephrase that. Not elite talent, but at the positional elite talent. The running back receiver just feels like that back end of the 3rd round. Unless somebody slips, that's kind of where
Yeah.
it feels like there's a slight fall off. So that's my only qualm with that. And I also feel like here too, when you're coming back around the 4th and 5th, that middle of the 5th round is also where like the running back
Yeah.
dries up, the receiver dries up. So that 5th round gets kind of like, and I feel like if there's any, I don't want there to be, but if there's any injuries during training camps to 2 or 3 players out of these top 60 players, it's going to dry up even more.
And last thing I'll say too is that if I was drafting from the 12 spot, I would go 100% at least 1 wide receiver there. Like I would not want to go 2 running backs because like we talked about, I do think the wide receiver position, in my opinion, dries up quite a bit, and could potentially dry up even more, like depending on your league in that 3rd round where you're looking at now like taking JSN or Terry McLaurin as your wide receiver 1. If you go double running back, and just for me, like I would not be okay with that. That's not something that I want personally. So I would be going at least 1 in the back end, at least 1 wide receiver, and then just hope the running back falls to you wherever, in the 2nd round.
Yeah, and
Personally,
obviously we are doing a 2 receiver, 2 running back league, so that might be the difference in drafting here. But I
yeah,
agree. I tend to agree. Like, if you're there, you want to try to get. I like getting 2 receivers there because, like you talked about, because Kamara, Mixon. Sometimes for me, those are players that I target. But I don't mind if you get 1 running back and 1 receiver. But like, I think 2 is tough there. Double up with like Achan and Henry. I've done that a couple times in best ball, and I hate the way my team turns out because you're
yeah,
stuck. Like I said, then you're like Terry and Mike, or
yeah.
it's like
And then like
you can't have
you
that guy
said
as a
too, the 5th round, like the 5th and 6th round, like the wide receivers really fall off there
yeah.
when you're getting outside of like the Devontae Smith.
Mhm.
Even like in my opinion, I like Jalen Waddle, and a lot of like he'll be gone sometimes there in the 5th round. So then you're stuck with you know say Flowers ish, and it's just like as like your wide receiver 2 potentially. I don't feel good about that at all.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, bro. I can't. Yeah, I just don't see the upside. There's some players I don't draft, and it's not because I don't like the player. It's just because they don't provide any upside. Zay Flowers is continuously one of those players.
Yeah, I mean, don't make sense.
I think we kind of just went over this right here. What you've been doing at the 12 turn. If you got anything else to add to that, or nah, I feel like we kind of just went over that.
No, I would just say once again, either two wide receivers start. I think it's honestly can work out great if you like those running backs like Kamara, Kenneth Walker, and Marion Hampton kind of guys. And get two running backs, or at least just one running back, one wide receiver. Ideally, is what you want there in
I'm
the
not
first
gonna lie, what Aiden Lee did was kind of the opposite of what I would want to do if I had that. Like, because I mean, this the
Definitely,
receivers are so like they're not
yeah.
bad. It's just gonna be a tough uphill
Yeah,
battle now to try to
right
find.
now, what I would do if I had his team, I would like my next 5, 6 picks would just be all wide receivers,
You got
where
to
you're
hit
just
one,
like,
yeah.
you gotta get one.
Just a rule of thumb here too. I'm gonna be. This is how I play, and you maybe you can bring some insight for yourself. But I almost never, if I take a tight end early, that means you can't take a quarterback early. If you
Yeah.
take a quarterback early, that means you can't
Well,
take a
I
tight
just
end
did it
early.
in this one because I did it for a video, somebody asked me to do, so that's
To
why I'm
take
doing it.
both early.
To take 2 within the first 4 rounds.
Okay. Yeah, you
They want me to
almost
go
can't do
with
that. Like because the drop off we talk in a 12-team league, I would say maybe if you're in a 10-team league and you want to get ballsy, go right ahead and do it. There's enough talent to go through. But
yeah.
like in a 12-team league, there's not enough talent to go around. Like if you Jalen Waddle, I'm gonna be no, this is no shade, Aiden Lee. But if Jalen Waddle is your number one receiver, you're not making the playoffs, bro. Like
Like last if he's what he did last
I mean,
he's
you're
pretty
assed out if
bad
he does
last
that.
year.
Even like
Yeah.
JMO, like you have to hope and pray that like two guys pan out because if you look at some of the other teams, they're stacked with like 1,500-yard type receivers. You would have to hope for like major breakout out of like Ted McMillan or Travis Hunter, or hope that prime Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp were there. Like there's just so much you have to ask. Where as some of these other teams are going to have really good talent, foundational talent, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, it's a mock draft though for a reason. You got to be able to try that out and see if you like the build.
Mhm.
Got to be able to. Matthew Golden will finish as a top 5 receiver. Not biased at all.
I
Yo,
do like him for where he's going.
do you like Matthew Golden? Because I think Matthew Golden, came in. Obviously, he's going to be known as a burner, but like he's a good route runner as well.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love kind of spreads that thing around a little bit more than we want
Yeah.
to admit.
So, I think the one thing I love Jaden Reed, but the biggest problem with Jaden Reed is he's kinda like Josh Downs in the sense he's not running all the routes. Like, they run, like, 70% of the routes, and there's just unless you're rookie season Jaden Reed or, like, when he's hyper efficient with his touches, like, it's so difficult for those guys to be successful in fantasy football. But the thing with Matthew Golden is I do think he will probably be running all the routes. Like, otherwise, why would you draft him in the first round? Like, why are you taking a wide receiver in the first round
Yeah.
if you aren't going to use him as like your number one? So if that's the case, in Golden, which I've seen a lot, like
But
the
we hear that all
community
the
has
time.
been,
Sorry, I hate that shit though. I hate that. Oh, if you took him in the first round, you're going to use him. We said the same thing for Xavier Leggett last year. We said the same thing for Quentin Johnson in the past.
yeah,
It doesn't always work like that.
no, he has to be good. Like he
Yeah, you
has to
got to
be
be
good at
good.
football, and that's the thing. If he is good, I do think that there's a lot of upside here because he is a burner. Jordan Love over the past 2 years has been top 5 in deep targets, so they want to take those shots down the field. He just has to be good, and but like he goes late, where I'm okay with
Yeah.
just taking the shot on him because I don't think that there's a ton of risk. It's not like he's a fourth rounder, fifth rounder. He's like an eighth or ninth rounder. So I'm in.
I feel like he and Jaden Reed both go in the same spot. And I think Jaden Reed is kind of being undervalued as well
God,
in the same spot. They're not too far off ADP wise. I don't know. I
sudden
still
death.
take Jaden Reed, but I think I could be very wrong. Obviously, could be very wrong on that. I think I could be wrong on that eventually. Like I feel like Matthew Golden has potential to outplay it. There's also
Yeah,
a chance that he's regular though. Whereas I think Jaden Reed,
100%.
I know he's wide receiver 3-ish.
My that running back fell off so bad there. It was
Yeah, they
so
did.
disgusting. Oh shit! You know what? I would have changed that. I see. That's the problem with sleeper. Like some of those, I don't know why they don't have like Travis. Why did Travis
Yeah,
Etienne move so far down there?
I don't know.
Even like Caleb Johnson, they're so far down the list.
I've
I don't
drafted
know.
so much fucking Travis Kelsey, bro. I don't know.
Um, no, but I agree with like because maybe they're like, oh well, hey, why the hell aren't we using Jaden Reed as an every down kind of player? Well, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what you said because I was like, who the fuck
No,
am I
I
going
was
to
talking
pick
about
this
Jaden
year?
Reed. I was just saying I draft more of him. I think he's like safer. Like as
Yeah,
to be a wide receiver 3, I think he's a wide receiver 3 with like wide receiver 2 upside. The problem is when you draft Jaden Reed instead of drafting Matthew Golden is you lose out a little bit on that, oh shit, he's a top 15 receiver. Like I don't there's
yeah.
a very slim possibility that Jaden Reed ends up as a top 15 guy,
I
whereas
would.
Golden could
I'm
end up there.
I'm gonna push back because I do think there's a world like I really do think it just comes down to him running more routes.
Okay.
Because the other thing with Jane Reed too is they do use him in like creative situations
Yes.
where they hand him the ball and he's shown us like he can have big spike weeks too. Like we've seen it where he puts up some monster weeks. It's just simply I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm not in the locker room or on the team. I don't know why he doesn't run. Maybe they just can't trust him in this situation. I have no idea. But like, if he were to ever do it and be a guy who's because he doesn't play in two wide receiver sets.
No, and he
So if he
won't.
does
He's not
play in
going to.
wide receiver sets, I do think he could be a big breakout kind of guy. But I don't know.
And Jordan, and I mean, half of the battle last because Jaden Reed was on that trajectory last year. I think we were taking Jaden Reed as like a top 25, 30 receiver last year, if
Yeah,
I'm not
and he
mistaken.
looked good the first few weeks of the
It
season.
did. It looked like he could, but when you
Well,
bring in
Jordan
a
Love got
Matthew
hurt.
Golden, you bring in a Matthew Golden to kind of alleviate some of that. Right? I
Yeah,
got a feeling he's going to play two receiver sets a little bit more. You got Dobbs who's in a contract year. They're going to use him as well. But the big thing we're missing is from the commenter here, Love for MVP. Like Jordan Love is going to be back healthy.
yeah.
And so he'll sling it. He'll sling it downfield a little bit more than we saw last year. Probably a little bit more accurate. I think there's going to be a lot of value just in this Green Bay offense in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. As long as he's healthy, I hope he's healthy.
Agreed. I love the blank and blank won't be there at round 4, bro. Like no shit. Have you seen every board? Yeah, crazy stuff does happen. There was a draft where it was weird because Patrick Mahomes fell to like in underdog. I passed on for some reason. I don't remember why, but he fell to like the 8th or ninth round. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Hmm.
Everybody was picking players underneath him for some reason. It was like he
Yeah,
stayed there. It was weird.
yeah, and just like you have that in drafts where most people they'll have like certain players that they like, but then there's other player there it could be just a league full of guys that don't like the one player and he just continues to fall and you're like, oh well. It's like one time I saw and I did a video on this and I hate kind of doing videos on this because they're not likely, but just somebody asked me to do it. But Brian Thomas Jr. fell to the middle of the second round. Like
Oh wow.
I don't know why in a 12-team league, but just
That would
shit like
never
that
happen in
happens.
my league.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't like shit happens. Like
Yes.
people really want the biggest problem is people have like in their mind that they really, really, really want this guy. And then like the situation comes up where, oh shit, I wasn't expecting Brian Thomas here, but I really, really want this guy. Fuck it, I'm just gonna go with the guy I really, really want. And then you kind of have like a trickle down effect where it's like, oh fuck, I wasn't really planning on this. I like Brian Thomas Jr., but I've already kind of talked myself in this situation. So it's like then that kind of stuff happens where they get pushed down the board. So
Yeah, I seen
anything
Alvin
can
Kamara
happen.
went to the 6th round one time when I was drafting. I'm like, I
Like,
took him easily there. You know what I mean? But it just
yeah,
you just never know who you're drafting with, and like you know, like I said, I want to draft with your community because I think we get spoiled here. Like we all kind of draft together, draft the same way. You're probably like, thank God, all the players I want. Half these players probably don't go as low in your drafts. Like
yeah.
I see that all the time when we do our quarterback in our super flex leagues. When we draft on here, and they're like, "Oh, quarterback would never go that low in my draft." I'm like, "No shit, because you're in a draft with us."
Hmm.
And there's different drafts. You're in drafts with different people, so not every league is the same. So it's just funny, man. Like people think that their league is the one league in all of America that matters. And I'm like, bro,
Yeah. No, for sure.
how you feeling about your draft so far?
I don't. I will. No, I don't like it. I wish what I would have done is if I would have went down the board a little bit, and I would like it more. I probably would have went with like Caleb Johnson and Travis Etienne there, double running backs, or at least one of them instead of Quinshawn.
Mhm.
But like the running backs just dried up so quickly there, or I probably should have went with like a running back and instead of Devontae, and then just get a couple wide receivers there. I don't. It like we it's so hard going going with a quarterback and a tight end early just because like you're gonna really. I just need one of these running backs to hit, I guess, which maybe, but like with the potential suspension of Quinshawn, I definitely would not have went him there as my RB2.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. Even have like a Travis Etienne or Caleb Johnson as an RB2. I still don't even like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like your team definitely is gonna get roasted if you post that one. They're gonna be like, "This is what you don't do." But at least you can preface it with like, "Hey, one of my followers wanted me to ask. This is how it plays out." And now they know. They're like, "That team is ass." Blah blah blah. Why would you take Quinshon Judkins? The thing is about Judkins though, he hasn't gotten suspended.
Yeah.
And we don't know that he even gets suspended this
It
season.
could,
Like
yeah,
sometimes
it could be
court
like a
cases,
Rashee Rice type of situation.
it
Just
very
gets
well
pushed
could be.
back.
Like I've been drafting him. He's another player in underdog who goes for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, but now he'll go 4 or 5 rounds where he won't go draft. I'll take him. I'll
Yeah.
take him as like my RB 3 or 4 just in case he's there.
Hmm.
Like just in case he's on the field for 17 games.
Yeah. No, I agree. You never, and that's why like Rashee Rice. I mean, he's definitely going to get suspended. But hey, if it ends up being 3 and shit, you get him in the. Where'd he go in this one?
He went
Oh, we went to 4-3. So
fourth round.
damn,
That's early. That's a little early.
that's paying
For
the
Mike and
price. Where if
Terry,
it ends up being an eight game suspension, easy, that's
yeah,
gonna be rough.
hurting. None of the Green Bay's receivers have earned the top target share. Golden has great hands. Reed and Dobbs led the league in drops. Golden could easily be wide receiver 1. He very well could easily be wide
Definitely,
receiver 1. I can see that.
or he could be Xavier Leggett and he's ass.
You never know. And I don't even think like I think what if he had a 700-yard season and like 5 touchdowns? I don't think that was even a bad year for a
No,
rookie. It's
yeah,
just not
it's just
our
not great
expectation.
for fantasy football. Like it's not somebody that you're going to be really throwing in your lineup and feeling confident every single week.
I will say this.
And
I
maybe
probably need
later
to
in the
draft
season.
more. I need to draft more Matthew Golden though in best ball. I don't know that I'll take him in redraft because I don't think you'll need to. But I think in best ball, I probably need to start taking a little bit more Matthew Golden because the
I take
upside.
one of those two guys
Well, when you
personally.
think about it, right? In fantasy, and it's just, I mean, it's not a blanket statement, but it kind of is like there's always a rookie receiver who outperforms expectations.
Yeah,
First rounder, right? And I think Tet, everybody's kind of expecting Tet to be the guy, right? Come in and be a top 25 guy immediately, which to me is kind of crazy. Travis Hunter, we know he has the upside. He's going to play early on offense, but probably going to be playing some defense at some point too. Then you get down to like, you got Matthew Golden, who could be like a Lad McConkey-ish type value this year. You know what I'm saying? Like has the upside to be a big play guy. We've seen it in the past with other receivers where it pans out, doesn't pan out. Emeka Egbuka, right? Another first
hmm
round receiver. Like a lot of people are expecting him to do well because of the Godwin injury, but that's a crowded receiving room. I'm not saying it's going to happen for Golden, but I think if I was if there was a guy who was gonna like he has that potential to kind of outplay expectations, I guess is
yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
No, I agree, and this could be so on average over like I think I look back and it's like 5 or 6 years or something like that. We're
Mhm.
seeing one rookie wide receiver finish inside the top 12. So if you had to take your pick today, who do you think that would be personally?
If I had to pick my pick first round
One,
receiver in the top 12, only one, it would be Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
So, but then you've also had years where like the Rashee Rice year and Jaden Reed. Both those, I don't know if there was. Oh, that was Puka Nakua's. But the other ones were like Garrett Wilson and Lat McConkey year. None of those guys finished top 12, but they had like Garrett Wilson early in the season was fantastic when I believe it was Joe Flacco was the quarterback there or Matt White. One of those guys were the
Mhm.
quarterback there, and he was electric. So you can have moments like that with Matthew Golden where he doesn't technically finish as a wide receiver 1, but there could be like a late season breakout like with Rashee
Yeah.
Rice's rookie season where he does. But it may be a situation where you drop him now because now it's week 7. He hasn't done anything. He's, kind of a 8th round,
Yeah,
ninth pick where you're not you hold on to those guys, but there comes a certain point where you may have to cut loose and it could happen and then ends up being a guy who breaks out later in the season and
I
obviously
could
he's not in the
definitely see
team
that
anymore.
happening for Golden, like a slow 3 game start to the year, and then a fucking 150 and 2 touchdown game, and now he's the pickup
Yeah,
of the week. Like I could
exactly.
definitely see that from Matt
For
because
sure.
Jordan Love will pass. You know what I mean? Like Romeo Dobbs will
Yeah,
probably have a game where he's the guy. Jaden Reed's going to have one of those spike games. Tucker Kraft is going to do that. They also have Josh Jacobs. Like I
yeah,
feel like they have so many options there, but there is going to come a time where Matthew Golden has that week where like, oh shit, this is why
yeah,
they drafted him number 1.
yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, for
Let
sure.
us. How y'all feel about this mock draft, man? Trying to look across the board real quick, see if anything stands out to me. Pretty balanced. I would say GA boy this time was kind of bold for skipping running back in a 2 receiver, 2 running back league. I think you're kind of. I'm not sure everybody drafted that way. Let's see. Yeah, like Q over here, your second running back is Aaron Jones and Ramondre. I don't know, but you backed it up with Mason. It's not bad. How you feel about your team?
Don't really. I mean, nah, I don't like it. No. I think if I would have went double running back there, probably would have. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
need one guy to hit one running back. I always say this about fantasy. Like you can find kind of replacement level throughout the year. Just guys get hurt at the running back position to plug and play for a week or two. But like, if none of those RB2s hit, I'm going to be really, really hurting. So I need one of
Yeah.
them to hit.